Okay, this is Seeking the Truth with Caroline Stevens. This is part 2 of the Hollie Greig case. So in part 1 we were talking about Hollie Greig being awarded £13,500.
Yes.
And the Scottish Government will not investigate.
Correct.
But maybe the tide maybe is about to change.
Well, it may be, but I think we should perhaps go a little bit further back because this is a huge story, so I don't take too much time for this. It is so complex. But basically, I couldn't get, not only could I not get the Scottish police to do anything about it, I couldn't get the politicians to do anything about it. I knew I couldn't get the SNP involved because they were implicated in it. So I tried with the other parties, the Conservatives, Labour, the Lib Dems, all of them. Nobody would help me apart from UKIP.
Wow.
I got a nice message from Nigel Farage later on.
Right.
And in fact, UKIP actually, I decided to stand for Aberdeen South in the general election in 2010. The reason for that was I couldn't get any help from the other parties, so I thought I'll make them do something, because my plan was that if I stood on this case in Aberdeen and we went to the hustings, I would talk about it and the other candidates would have to say something. They couldn't ignore the audience over a matter of alleged a big paedophile ring operating in their city and all the others were just standing there not doing anything. So the point was to force the other candidates to talk about it.
Right.
UKIP withdrew their candidate. I think it was David Coburn actually, who was become the leader of the. I think he's MEP now.
That's right,
yes.
MEP.
Member
of the European Parliament in Scotland.
I think he withdrew in order to help me, and UKIP were not very strong in Scotland at the time, and certainly not in Aberdeen, but they did their best to support me and get me to do that. The point was I couldn't get very far because I was arrested on the day I went to meet the electorate, thrown into prison and banned from Aberdeen. I could not go to Aberdeen. I could not enter Aberdeen, Aberdeenshire, nor could I talk to the public about what I was standing for.
Did you live in Aberdeenshire?
No.
Oh, right.
No.
Right, okay.
No. So the point was, I think I was the first candidate in 300 years of British parliamentary history who was not allowed to stand in the constituency which he wished to represent, nor to actually come forward and tell the people what I was standing for. That has never happened before.
Wow.
I'm the only person that has happened to. You can see how scared they were, can't you?
Yes.
You can see how they were just, if I was some sort of conspiracy theorist or crackpot, they would have just ignored me.
Why were you thrown into prison exactly?
To find me off.
So how long were you in prison?
I was held first time for 3 nights, and then later they charged me.
Charged you with what?
Breach of the peace.
Right.
Which is totally different in Scotland. England. Breach of the peace covers anything. It's not here. You think somebody fighting outside a pub or something like that. In Scotland means anything. Anything the government doesn't like is breach of the peace.
Oh.
That's how it's totally different. So people have to realise breach of the peace in Scotland has a far wider interpretation than it does in England.
Wow.
It's not the same thing. And in fact, this is how I really became well known. This is how I got the Reigns list. I've spent a total of 6 months in high security prisons in Scotland.
What were they
mostly in solitary confinement. Pretty bad. But I had wonderful support from everybody in the prison, all the other prisoners, because I had exposed paedophilia at high level, which they knew about. And of course, it's quite true that prisoners generally hate paedophiles.
Yes.
Somebody who speaks about some of the very people who had them thrown into prison, you can see the reaction. I was their best friend.
Well, I was going to say, they're probably the ones that are often in solitary confinement, aren't they, paedophiles?
Yes.
So why were you put in solitary?
Well, I was put in solitary on my second. The first time I was mostly not in solitary. It was just to give me a hard time, actually. The Scottish Government, Alex Salmond and all his mates wanted to
frighten you
do
off.
the worst. Yeah.
Right, okay.
Obviously didn't work, but they did their best.
So have you had any compensation for this?
Oh, no. I won't get anything for that Scottish Government. I'm joking. No.
Right,
Sorry,
so
I'm being hard on you.
That's going back
but this
in
is,
time.
This is effectively, and this is no discrediting to all my great Scottish friends, because I'm very pro-Scottish. That's all that's happened to me. Wonderful, brave people, decent people throughout the country. But the country is run by the people who are in charge. Fundamentally, as a banana republic. That is how it is. And most informed Scottish people I'm sure would agree with that totally.
Well, thank you, Robert, for that. This is the end of part 2, the Hollie Greig case. I'm Caroline Stevens, seeking the truth, and I've had Robert Greig in the studios today in Wales. Thank you for listening, and goodbye for now.